We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a very special public service announcement.
The most important thing to remember is this. Your family doctor is your closest ally in matters relating to your health and well-being. I've got a hangnail, chronic bursitis, and a nervous tic.
Doctors are supposed to be trusted professionals that we can put our trust in to keep our health in check. Administering new remedies is not always what it's cracked up to be. Sometimes the craziest stuff is discovered. Take, for instance, the time I found out I'd been injecting myself with Gila monster spit to control diabetes. It worked, but kept me guessing. How did they know that? I guess as long as there's a trusting person who is desperate enough, anything is possible when it comes to our health. Young John Brinkley's father was an old country physician. When he died, John became the breadwinner for his family. He worked as a telegraph operator and delivered mail. At home, he studied the Bible religiously and tried to develop home remedies in his spare time. Born in 1885 in tiny Beta, North Carolina, Brinkley longed for greatness beyond his small world of opportunities. At 20, he married a local girl and joined a traveling medicine show. The money they made, singing, dancing, and peddling a bogus cure-all, inspired Brinkley to enroll in a medical school. However, it was a diploma mill and not an accredited institution. In an effort to legitimize his cure-all business, Brinkley went to Chicago and enrolled in a more reputable medical college. But he became deep in debt and was forced to drop out shy of obtaining his legitimate medical degree. Other medical schools refused to accept him due to his debt. Nonetheless, John Brinkley procured work in Greenville, South Carolina, where he would inject patients with his own concoction of electric medicine from Germany. He alleged it could strengthen masculine virility, but it was soon discovered in reality it was nothing more than colored water. Soon his old nemesis debt paid him another crippling visit, and this time it ended with Brinkley serving a short jail sentence. In the summer of 1914, John Brinkley chased a new start and moved to Judsonia, Arkansas. He opened a practice as a specialist in diseases of women and children. There, his work began to garner recognition by the local community. And John Brinkley did finally manage to become a legitimate doctor. He settled in Milford, Kansas, and in 1916 established what would become his medical breakthrough. For a couple of years in Milford, Brinkley made an honest living. He ran a 16-room clinic, doctoring victims of a flu pandemic, and his community applauded his efforts. But when a patient complained he struggled with impotence, Brinkley hit on the idea that would make him a millionaire. The legend of the fateful visit occurred at the farm of a patient complaining about sexual weakness. Brinkley, halfway joking, pointed at a male goat and said,
"You wouldn't have any trouble if you had a pair of those big buck bands in you."
Bah. Well, why don't you put them in? Why don't you go ahead and put a pair of those goat glands in me, transplant them, graft them, any way you can?
And it was a success. Just 1 year later, the farmer's wife gave birth to a little boy named Billy, of course. Billy was the first goat gland baby born of the novel procedure. As word spread, Brinkley's clinic expanded and was chock full of men willing to have goat testicles implanted into their scrotums. Wait, did I just say that? Okay. The charge was $750 for each procedure, the equivalent of $10,000 at today's money. Dr. Brinkley hit it big time when Harry Chandler, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, opted for the procedure. On April 22, 1922, the headlines read, "New life in glands. Dr. Brinkley's patients cured. 1,200 operations all successful." After a lifetime of failures and accruing debt, Dr. Brinkley became world famous and was now a multi-millionaire. But that wasn't all. The good doctor slid back to his old peddling roots and began making outrageous claims. The goat glands could now cure anything from influenza to insomnia, while the insane could think clearly within just 36 hours of an operation.
Brinkley claimed 90% of all insanity cases and 75% of all divorce cases are due to diseased glands. He marketed himself like no one ever had. He filled newspapers with ads of himself holding Billy, the goat miracle baby. He publicized operations of senators and Hollywood stars. He even set up his own radio station, KFKB, Kansas First, Kansas Best. He hosted a segment called The Medicine Box, where he read listeners' questions and complaints. Of course, he always explained how each person could benefit from either goat gland or one of his licensed products
Sold at Brinkley's pharmacies. When asked by the medical community how his process can be replicated, Brinkley staunchly denied anyone else could ever do it besides him. It was quickly deduced by experts that the surgery was a rather crude and simple procedure. A goat's testicles were implanted into a patient's scrotum, but the blood vessels were not connected. Consequently, the foreign gland did not actually interact with the patient's body internally. And as a result, there was no medical foundation for the procedures. And many complaints arose. From severe infection or death. But the worst part was probably men complaining about the reeking smell of goat in their pants. Still raking in the dough, Brinkley built a lavish mansion where he kept exotic animals like trained monkeys, tortoises, and penguins. He led the high life in yachts and Cadillacs, invested in civic improvements, and even started a local baseball team, the Brinkley Goats. But not everybody bought into the goat bonanza. The American Medical Association had been pursuing complaints against the doctor, doing everything in their power to shut him down. Brinkley fought back on his radio stations, proclaiming the AMA just couldn't compete with his miracle cures. Finally, in 1930, the Kansas Medical Board held a hearing to revoke Brinkley's license. It was revealed that he had signed 42 death certificates for patients within his care. Dr. Brinkley's hard-fought medical license was revoked, and then he lost his radio station due to fraud. But John Brinkley continued to dabble for his place in a grand scheme again. He even ran for state governor and lost. The lawsuits, fraud, malpractice claims, and censorship for broadcasting caused Brinkley to move to Texas. The chief nemesis in his total downfall was the investigator for the AMA, Mr. Morris Fishbein. Fishbein published a scathing series against Brinkley's checkered career. Brinkley eventually sued him for slander and lost. In fact, a countersuit arose that cost the DOODAD doctor over $3 million.
Why, that's a lot of golden goat goods.
Soon after his bankruptcy, Brinkley suffered 3 heart attacks and had his leg amputated due to a blood clot. On May 26, 1942, Brinkley died penniless from heart failure in San Antonio, Texas. There was a pending mail fraud case when he died. His obituary eulogized him as a quack with quite a gaudy career. Ironically, the obituary also warned about the power of mass media, how mighty a force it is for evil as well as good. Who really knows the true intentions of the small-town kid who wanted a name for himself? A seemingly appropriate family man. Nevertheless, most of us will continue to trust others to develop and treat our woes and illnesses. From lizard spit to the intimate parts of farm animals. Our desire for self-preservation will continue to reach beyond logic and mere mortal possibilities.